Previously on Weight Loss Transformation Interview with Anand. As a 12-year-old, he weighed well over 200 pounds. As a teenager, he was close to 300 pounds with a waist size of 50 inches and 50% of his body was fat. He has since lost over 125 pounds and kept it off for 6 years. He is an online and in-person fat loss and strength coach in Mountain View, California, and he's also a power lifter. Talk about a 180 turn. Welcome to the next part of the interview. We're going to continue to cover all of this. This last part continues to be a doozy with 22 more actionable tips, 3 myths busted, all of it to get you working smarter towards your fat loss goal. In this video, Anand talks about 2 mindsets that he has seen all of his successful clients have to develop. He talks about the criteria that he has seen correlate with whether you will have loose skin or stretch marks. He also gives advice for common scenarios, like for example, if you're just starting out and thinking about doing one of the popular diets, what would he say to you? If you're someone who struggles in social situations, what does he suggest to you? And much more. We have another awesome person with an amazing transformation that we're interviewing next week. If you want to get notified when that interview drops, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and also hit that bell icon. And I'm curious, just personally, like you've mentioned, like you need to have the success mindset, you said in one of your videos. Would you like break down on like what are those like maybe top 1 to 3 success mindsets that you like really try to hone into your clients?
Yeah, for sure. I would say one of them is definitely patience. Because like I said, you don't want to panic and be in it for the long term. You know, if you're not happy with what your body looks like, you gotta understand that you didn't get there overnight. You know, it took you many years to get there, so it's gonna be a process. And that leads me to my second point, which is the process, right? You gotta focus on the process, learn to enjoy the journey, because if you're only if you're only focused on the outcome, then first of all you're gonna set goals that are way too low that you know that you're gonna be able to achieve, right? But then that's not what you actually want. But you're just so attached to that outcome. It's like if you don't achieve it, then you're gonna feel bad about it, you know? Like let's say if you don't achieve that 100-pound goal, then it's like it's not even worth it. But if you focus on the process of what kind of person you're gonna become and what kind of habits you're gonna form in the pursuit of that goal, then that's the main thing. So I would say that's what separates the people who are successful versus not, that they focus on the process, not the outcome.
Yes, 100% agree.
And you know, I'm not a religious person or anything, but you know, I like to study different religions and you know, learn good lessons from them. And one of the quotes from the Bhagavad Gita is that we only have the right to our labor, but we don't have the right to the fruits of our labor.
Right.
And just focus on the work. Just put in the work, because you're gonna get there. Just focus on the work and trust the process. So patience and the top 2 things I would say: patience and process.
A lot of my clients who have more than 100 pounds to lose, they worry about having a lot of loose skin or like other things that are going to happen to their body. And I know that you recently posted a video about it. I'd love for you to speak to that. And especially you compared that to your brother's fat loss, which is also a significant amount, and the differences between the two. So yeah, go ahead.
It depends on how much weight you lose. I think that's the number 1 factor. You know, you can look at genetics and age and all of that. Definitely those things matter, because you know, your things such as your elasticity of your skin goes down over age and stuff. But in my experience, anytime you lose right around that 100-pound mark, you're most likely gonna have some loose skin, unless you had, you know, maybe your body fat was pretty well distributed. And you know, like for me, most of my body fat was in my belly, so I've lost like 20 inches of my waist. So it's like, you know, it's your skin probably won't go back, even though it's a living organ, unless you get surgery or something. But my brother's lost like close to 90 pounds, so just under 100 pounds, but he doesn't have much loose skin at all. Maybe a little bit, but it's not visible, not like mine. I've had friends who've lost over 100 pounds like me, and they have some loose skin. Oftentimes loose skin with the combination of fat enhance how bad it looks. You know, because that last bit of fat you have is holding on to that skin. And you know, unless you lose that fat, your skin doesn't have a reason to retract completely. So I've heard people saying that once they get to under 10% body fat, it usually goes away. So, but then, 10% body fat is not sustainable for most people, especially
Yes.
if you've been overweight. you
Yes.
know Unless you're naturally skinny, you just being that lean isn't very sustainable.
Right.
So I would say, but it's not a major issue. It's like it doesn't bother me
Yeah.
much. I do have a lot of loose skin, but doesn't affect me day to day. I'd rather lose the weight than worry
Yeah.
about the loose skin.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Do you think the rate of fat loss also affects it? Like, that's one of the questions that I get, which is like, if I lose weight slower over a longer period of time, maybe my body will have time to like retract that skin.
I don't think so, because I lost weight at a pretty moderate rate for the most part, and I've
Hmm.
kept it off for so many years, but it hasn't made a significant difference.
Got it. Got
Maybe a
it.
little bit, but I don't think time is much of a factor. It's more about the magnitude of weight loss
I see.
and your body fat distribution. One thing you can do to maybe make it look better is uh, focus on building muscle, because that's gonna enhance your performance overall. And it's like, maybe gonna stretch out your skin a little bit if you have more muscle mass. Also, if you're taller, you're less likely to have loose skin.
I
Like,
see.
if you're over 6 feet or something, then your skin is gonna have more room to be stretched out, like
Right.
versus a shorter person. But I would say, it, it's a good reminder oftentimes to lose skin or whatever you have. It's like a souvenir of your of your past life. Yes.
Yeah.
Because for me, I talked about this in my video. People don't believe me when I say that I used to be almost 300 pounds. And
Mm.
sometimes I even show them pictures and they still don't believe it's the same person. But this is something that I have proof of, like,
Yeah.
this is what
Yeah.
my skin used to be like. So
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
souvenir.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe also a reminder of like not going back to
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
So let's do a couple of scenarios and assume that this person is a beginner. Like this person has a lot of weight to lose. They jump onto whatever is the trending diet at the time. I
Hmm.
think right now it's like a mixture of keto and intermittent fasting, is my
Yeah,
understanding.
yeah.
What would you say to this person?
I would say, for the first question you got to ask yourself is, do you see yourself doing this, uh, 6 months down the road or even longer?
Mm,
Because not only does it take time to see any results, but it also takes you. It's a lifestyle change at the end of the day. So
right.
you got to find something that is sustainable to you. So if you don't see yourself doing it 6 months or even more down the line, then I would say find something better. That's the
Hmm.
number one thing, right? Because, like I said, all these diets are designed to help you create that caloric deficit, but not all of them will work for you. You'd be surprised. So I've had family members, like even my cousin. So my cousin's name is also Richa, and
Oh.
so she comes up to me one day and she's like, "Should I try keto?" And keep in mind that she's a vegetarian, and
Oh.
and I'm like, so what, you're not gonna eat any carbs for the rest of your life? So,
Yeah.
because what do you eat then, as a vegetarian?
Yeah.
So it's a sustainability thing, and she only did that because her co-worker, whatever, whoever was
Yeah.
recommending it to her. And I'm like, what else did they recommend? And you won't believe the kind of advice she got. And
Mm,
I'm like, you need to stop listening to this person, because
yeah.
every single thing she told me was wrong. That's the thing about fitness, right? It's like, if you have some sort of medical condition, uh, you listen to a medical professional, right? But when it comes
Yes.
to fitness, it's like everyone has an opinion. You gotta listen to someone who actually knows what they're talking about and have seen results, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
you know, and not just with themselves, but with other people. Like, would you rather, would you go to a gym and listen to a trainer who's like overweight, or
Right.
would you
Right.
listen to someone who's in shape?
Yeah.
And the other thing to keep in mind, there is a lot of people are in shape in spite of what they do and not because of what they do.
Right.
So they might have like good genetics, or you know they might have something just work for them. That doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So
Yeah.
I in my case, even the people who I look up to, they almost always, these are the people who were not where they are, but they found a way to get there.
Yes.
And these are the people that you should learn from. So you gotta see, okay, if you want to follow a certain diet, then who's following that diet, you
Yeah.
know? So first, let's say you found out that you can sustain it in terms
Mhm.
of your lifestyle, your food choices, but then you also gotta see what kind of results people are getting, not just in the short term, but in the long term.
Right.
And don't just go for the before and after pictures,
Yeah.
because those can be fake oftentimes. But um, like you gotta see who's teaching the diet and what kind of results people are actually getting.
Yeah, there was a British university study I think recently done, and they found that 9 out of 10 fitness influencers are wrong in whatever they tell you.
Really.
And there was yeah, it was 9 out of 10, and then the 1% or the 1% that passed, or the 10% in this case, all were like registered dietitians who weren't like marketing hard, you know. So
It's
that's
crazy.
a exactly, it's crazy. Yeah, and let's say there's like again a beginner person who's trying to lose weight and they get a personal trainer or they join, let's say, Orange Theory Fitness, or they join CrossFit, and they're not paying much and they're like, "Oh, I'm exercising, so I don't like need to do anything else. Like I'm exercising a lot." What would
Yeah.
you say to this person?
Yeah, that's one of the most I would say it's a common mindset that because I'm working out, I can eat whatever I want. And I've seen people who actually gain weight. They're trying to lose weight without the exercise, but then they give themselves a free pass and they're like, I'm gonna eat whatever. And
Yeah.
I've had people tell me that because when I was first losing weight, people were like, oh, you don't need to diet. You just exercise. You
Hmm.
don't need to diet. Why do you want to diet? And diet is, I would say, the main thing when it comes to creating a caloric deficit, because
Hmm.
it's way easier to cut down your food intake than it is to burn
Yeah.
off those calories, right? So
Yeah.
diet is the basic thing. Exercise is more, it's a tool. Diet is a tool, things. But I would say exercise is more of a tool, especially if you're training with weights. It's more of a tool to maintain and build muscle mass, which is
Hmm.
going to help you in the long term
Right.
rather than a weight loss tool.
Right. 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 I agree. And then what would you say to a person who has read up a lot on losing weight and gaining muscle? And, they're like, I shouldn't eat fruits because they have sugar in them. And then I should optimize for this, optimize for that. But they're really struggling to lose weight. What would you say to this person?
Yeah, so I like that you said they've read up a lot, because I've been that person. And and oftentimes people, when they read up a lot, they don't take the action because either they're paralyzed by what do I need to do, or
Yeah,
they just procrastinating at the end of the day by trying to read and learn about stuff. And
yeah,
whereas the other guy doesn't even know what he's doing, but he's going to the gym every day and he's getting results. So
yeah,
which person do you want to be, right? So
yeah.
that's the thing. And fitness isn't that complicated, like you have the basics, but unless you want to be some top athlete, it's really simple. It's not
Hmm.
easy, but it's simple. So I would say that you don't really need to keep learning and keep reading. Once you figure out the basics, you just gotta apply them.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing. Some people are just always focusing on gaining that knowledge. And it might help you if you want to be, like, let's say, a coach, or you want to help other people. But even then, I found, like, even the smartest people will tell you this, that uh, just being a practitioner, just learning the basics and applying and seeing what kind of results you get in real life is what's gonna help you see what's working, what's not working, and help you get those results.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And the basics are, as we said, like mindset is huge,
Yeah,
patience, process, and then you said caloric deficit, however
yeah,
you do it,
yeah,
and a solid training program, not an
yeah.
exercise program. And that's and don't freak out. I guess that's the other thing, which goes with patience.
Patience, yeah.
Yeah, it bears repeating twice. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's it.
and,
Cool.
and and I don't blame them, because I've been there myself. I used to watch all the new YouTube videos that came out, trying to learn about stuff. uh, and it didn't necessarily give me any better results. It's just, at that point, it was just entertainment. I did a podcast interview with my friend Ranbir, And I was telling about one of my clients. His name is Dave, and he's sending me this post one day about someone posted about protein powders, and they were like, if your protein powder doesn't have 2.6 grams of leucine per scoop, then it's not a high quality protein or whatever, something like that. And
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, I just checked my label and my protein only has 2.5 grams of leucine in it. I'm, I'm like, sure, that 0.1%, 0.1 grams of leucine is gonna make all the difference for you.
That's a really good example, and it's a very common example.
And it's the same thing with, like, let's say if you want to do intermittent fasting versus eating 6 meals a day, is that the thing that's really gonna make or break your diet?
Right,
Or is it gonna be about your overall calories and your macronutrient intake?
right.
That's what's gonna dictate it, right? How you do it is is not that important. I don't think it's even gonna make 1% difference
Yeah.
if everything else is the same.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. We haven't touched upon social stuff. That's a big part. So let's say this is a very common thing where people are on point with what they're doing Monday to Friday, and then the weekend rolls around and
Yeah,
they're eating out and they're with friends and they kind of go off track.
yeah,
What are like the top things that you usually tell your, I'm assuming your clients also struggle with this. What
yeah,
are the
for
top
sure.
things that you tell them?
It depends on where they are and what their goals are. Like if they want to lose fat and they have some massive goals, like I want to lose 100 pounds, then you're gonna have to make some sacrifices there.
Yeah,
So if that's the case, then the number one thing is you gotta learn how to say no,
yeah,
and that's something that I struggle with even today. But that was one thing I had to do for myself as well, because it's like if you don't learn to say no, then you just go along with what everyone else is doing, right?
right.
And then you're not reaching your goals at the end of the day. um, and you gotta let other people know about your goals. Don't feel shy about it. Let's say if you're losing weight, then you gotta let them know that I really want to do this. And most likely if you're clear like that, you have open communication, then people are gonna be very supportive of that.
Right,
And the
right.
people who are not supportive of that, then you probably shouldn't be hanging out with them anyway. Another thing is, when you go out to eat, that doesn't mean you have to eat unhealthy. Now you can still order healthy and you can still make it fit your diet. And these days, it's like, most restaurants, even fast food restaurants, would offer you healthier options.
Yeah,
So, just because you go to McDonald's, that doesn't mean that you have to get like burgers and fries and shake
yeah.
and a soda, right? And some other strategies that work well are, sometimes I tell my clients to, if they have trouble with like overeating,
Hmm.
before you go out to eat, just have like a protein shake or something,
Hmm.
because that really um, suppresses your appetite. Protein is pretty filling, and most of these protein shakes these days are pretty. Um, they taste pretty good actually. So if you have like a sweet tooth and stuff like that, that also satisfies it a little bit. So if your goal is to go out and socialize, then that should be the goal. Your goal shouldn't be to like go out and indulge yourself with food and stuff like that. You can still do it. They aren't mutually exclusive.
Top one, two, three myths, and I know there are lots of myths, but your pet peeve, top one, two, three myths when it comes to weight loss that you feel should be busted and you want to bust them right now.
One is, we already touched upon this a little bit, but just not focusing on strength training for some reason. Like,
Mm,
if it's they like strength training is either only to gain muscle or it's not for women.
yeah,
Women shouldn't strength train. But it's not that different whether you want to gain weight or lose weight. Another mistake that people make is let's say they've been focusing on gaining muscle all this time, and then when they decide to lose weight, they're like, I'm going to do all these higher reps, and toning is the word that they use, which is
yes,
a BS term, because
yeah,
what is toning? It's not
yeah,
a real thing.
yeah,
It's like your muscle can either grow, it can either grow in size, so hypertrophy, or it
yeah,
can shrink in size, which is atrophy, or it
yeah,
can remain about the same, but there's no toning.
yeah,
So, when people talk about toning, you're building muscle and you're losing fat. That's basically what they talk about. So you have to make all these drastic changes to your diet, and you can only eat these foods and not these foods. But
hmm,
it's more of an adjustment. It's not even a major shift. You know, take where you are right now and make some adjustments so that you can create that deficit. So you don't have to completely change your diet. It can be something as simple as, this is my plate of food, and I'm gonna maybe cut out 20% of that plate for each meal,
Right.
or 20% of the higher calorie foods. So you're
Right.
still eating the same foods, or let's say if you like eating pizza, right? Instead of eating 4 slices, eat like 3 slices. That's
Right.
like that's gonna cut out 300 calories right there. If you eat like an entire candy bar every night, maybe eat half of it or something. This
Yeah.
doesn't have to be that crazy.
How has it been actually when you were coaching yourself versus when you're coaching others? I'm kind of curious about that.
As a coach, I have to put myself in the shoes of the mentor.
Right.
And if you're a Star Wars fan, then your client is like Luke Skywalker,
Yes.
and and you are either Obi-Wan or you're Yoda, and you're guiding them through their hero's journey, as they call it, right? So how
Yeah.
do you make your client that hero of his journey? He's not a hero yet. Maybe he's a bit overweight, and he's got all these issues, but he wants to be a hero. He wants to be this lean and strong guy. How
Right.
do I
Right.
help him get there as a mentor? So
Yeah.
it's fun to make that transition,
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think it's much easier. It's easier to coach others than to coach yourself because it's hard
Oh
to
yeah,
sometimes not be emotional about your own thing.
yeah, or objective, right? You're
Yeah.
never objective with yourself, and
Exactly.
it's like, oftentimes yourself, you also know that you need to do something, but it's also harder to take that action,
Yeah.
uh, for the reasons we discussed, but it's you can give the same advice to someone else and guide them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Cool. This has been really awesome, Anand. And to people listening, Anand also has a YouTube channel. I think he mentioned it once. It's called Underdog Strength. It's a
Mhm.
really awesome channel. I binge watched a lot of his videos. So if you're someone who strength trains, he's talked quite a bit about it. And even if you're new to it or if you're advanced, he has some really good videos kind of just explaining the basics all the way to all of the advanced stuff. He also talks a lot about mindset, which, if you follow this channel, I know you love that stuff because, as we said, 80% of this game is just mindset. So go ahead and get that from his channel too. And also, just his channel is just really solid and it's really evidence based. It's not marketing jargon, it's like the stuff that actually works. So I'm going to leave a link to his channel in the description below. Totally recommend it. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And any last words, any last thing you want to say, Anand?
I would say, if you if there's one thing you should exercise, is exercise patience, and you'll go a long way.
Yeah.
And I know it's not like what most people want to hear. They want to hear what exercise will get me ripped,
Yeah.
but it's you need to exercise patience. Just find what works for you and what's going to work in the long term, and that's going to go a long way for
Mhm.
you, because what works for someone else may not work for you. So find what works for you.
Hey there! If you want to know when the next interview drops, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and also hit that bell icon. Until then, keep crushing it.